Good afternoon and welcome all of you for this Daksh PowerTalk on peace through art. Before we commence the speech, now may I request the student volunteer to sing the invocation.
मैत्रीं भजत अखिलः जयत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलः जयत्रीं आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत आत्मवदेव परानपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणं मैत्रीं भजत अखिल जयत्रीं जननी पृथ्वी कामदुकास्ते जननी पृथ्वी कामदुकास्ते जनको देवः सकल दयाळु जनको देवः सकल दयाळु दाम्यतदर्थ दयत्वं जनता दाम्यतदर्थ दयत्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now request Dr. S. Y. Subramaniam, Dean Planning and Development, to deliver the welcome address and introduce the guests to this August gathering.
Distinguished speaker for the last part of this Daksh PowerTalk series, Srimati Priyadarsini Govind, Registrar, Dean Dr. Badrinath, faculty colleagues, student friends. I must admit that I'm a little tensed because I have been given the responsibility to not only welcome the gathering, but also taken the responsibility, which I usually do, to set the context for the talk, and especially this evening's topic, peace through art. The tension builds up because, to be very honest, I will confess my ignorance on any form of art, because I've neither been a student of art, so less should I talk about practicing it. And honestly, I will admit that, I've not that I don't want to, but somehow I never got the opportunity to be a part of an audience that could appreciate art. Nevertheless, I have associated myself with the development of art and culture, and in some small way, I have gained some inputs, but definitely not enough to lay down a big context for this discussion this evening. But since Dr. Badrinath has also given me the duty, let me first begin by introducing the speaker for this evening session. Not that she needs an introduction, but that I just want to demonstrate that she is part of the continuum that we have maintained in this Daksh PowerTalk series, that we have speakers of some great intellect, starting with Mr. Ajit Doval yesterday, Mr. Gurumurthy yesterday evening, this morning we had Mr. T.S.R. Subramaniam, and maintaining the same continuum in terms of the intellect that aggregates for Daksh PowerTalk series. We have with us this evening Srimati Priyadarsini Govind, the director of Kalakshetra, a very accomplished Bharatanatyam artist in her own style. She has represented our country in various international fora through various organizations, from invitations from various state heads across the world. Being a commerce graduate and also a postgraduate in mass communications, she has, of course, dedicated herself for promoting as a performer, as a teacher of the famous art of Bharatanatyam. And she is also, and I just went through the website, she is also a trained expert on the Kerala martial defense Kalaripayattu. Yesterday, in fact, we had a team from Calicut doing a live demonstration yesterday evening for our student audience here, because the theme of Daksh this year has been terrorism and peace, as a result of which we also said we will also encourage and nurture some traditional defense mechanisms also. So with this multidimensional intellect, we have with us Srimati Priyadarsini Govind talking on the topic Peace through Art. On behalf of the university, faculty, the students, I welcome you, madam, for this evening function, and please. Little did I think that, you see, I can coin a topic, because it's always easy to probably give a topic a name and then ask a speaker who actually takes the challenge to, speak on the topic. So I did the easy part. I told her you have to speak on the topic peace through art. In the last 2 days, you would have noticed that we had the topic revolving around the concept that we chose for Daksh. Ajit Doval yesterday spoke about the strategy and tactic in the state policy making that can create an atmosphere of a counter-terrorism framework. We had Mr. Gurumurthy talking about the religious aspect, the theological aspect of creating a peace framework that can counter terrorism. And all the potential of state policy or the theology is that the capacity that it can be a very strong unifying factor. And that's precisely why I think the topic for this session, peace through art, can also be a subject matter that has the propensity to create that unifying factor. And I'll give you 2 examples to just lay down the context. The first example might not be directly relevant, but can probably lead to the second example, which could be directly relevant to the topic. All of you know that we had the space mission very recently. We launched the PSLV. And before the launch, the ISRO chairman actually took the model of that rocket and he went to Tirupati and placed the model of the rocket before Lord Balaji. And the mission had some failures before. And this time, they made sure that there was no failure, because our reputation is at stake, our capacity to build an indigenous mechanism in the science and technology spaces. And space demonstrates power of a nation, space programs. So he made it sure that this time it is not going to be a case of failure. So he took the model of the rocket and placed before Lord Balaji. And then, of course, it was a big success. But the message that I got, at least, is how is that, this is about a science that is driven by rocket design. It's a science that's driven, science and technology driven by cryogenics, aerospace, aerodynamics, fluid mechanics, and all sorts of things. And the modern science attempt is to defeat nature, to defeat the concept of an omnipresent divinity. And that's probably the Western view of why modern science needs to be encouraged. But at the end of the day, it was a belief that could hold together scientists from a very, very, very diverse background, not necessarily only from a single faith, but a multiple faith intellect, all agreed that yes, we should place this before Lord Balaji so that we know we can probably come out successful in this program. Now, can science and technology have a connect with some divine force outside? Yes, and that leads to the second example that I wanted to demonstrate, that direct connect through, again, a unifying factor, art, which ensured that peace is a byproduct of art. You all know the Higgs boson experiment, the CERN experiment that was conducted to understand the evolution, the creation of matter. And finally, the God particle was found. And it was the statue of the dancing Shiva, which is actually placed in the center of the CERN labs. And if I tell you that that was the inspirational force behind the successful CERN experiment, nobody is going to believe, despite the fact that I'm telling you it in English, but still nobody will believe it. But the CERN spokesperson, the official spokesperson of CERN, went on record and said that we consider that this statue, the cosmic dance of Lord Shiva, is the motherhood force that actually made it possible for us to understand and realize that the entire creation has something to do with the dancing statue of Lord Shiva. And then finally, scientifically, they explained that what we actually did through this collision experiment is to explain how small atoms, subatomic level matters, and they're all manifested. They are manifested everywhere in this microphone, in this stage, in me, and in all of you. And everyday atoms, cells inside our body get created and destroyed. We have a physical form, but then within us we have lots of cells and subatomic cells being created, destroyed every day. So the process of evolution, creation, destruction happens on an everyday basis. And this, they could see that it is manifested in the cosmic form in the statue of Lord Shiva. And they were able to establish the scientific explanation through a cosmic connect, which also the dance explained in different forms in a way that they could understand, little that I could understand, but could get convinced that the very, very abstract issue of destruction and creation, which was the ultimate discovery of modern science, was we were able to see that manifest in abundant in the statue of Lord Shiva. And it is that statue, the dancing statue of Lord Shiva, is the one that the Bharatanatyam artists considered as their fountainhead for their artistic intellect. So I thought that I would lay down this as the context, because I told you I exposed my ignorance. I really do not know much about the intricacies of that. But I am convinced that arts like Bharatanatyam, which has a continuum, holds an attachment with the civilizational asset of our country, definitely has a propensity to promote peace. And I will stop here laying down this context. And I am expecting Srimati Priyadarsini Govind to add more. I'm sure she will definitely do that to explain as to why she feels that art can be a very strong unifying factor that can result in a world that is full of peace. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Srimati Priyadarsini Govind.
Respected Dr. Vaidya Subramaniam, Dr. Balachandran, Dr. Badrinath, the faculty of SASTRA, the students, my best wishes. Art is a natural impulse of humans, and I think that the concept, the metaphysical concept of Nataraja stands testimony to the highly developed intellectual capacity of the civilization that was, that from the germ of the impulse, an entire concept, an entire universal concept was developed. I would like to start with a quote by Nelson Mandela. Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers. It laughs in the face of all types of discrimination. I think we won't be wrong if we replace the word sport with art. In my mind, these words are equally and perhaps with a larger resonance of truth applicable to the arts. In a world strife with conflict for land, for opportunities, for freedom, and sometimes for the basic right to live, to say that peace can be achieved through art may at once seem, perhaps in a way, unrealistic. I believe and I hope that you will also, that the arts have the unique power to achieve true peace in a subtle yet substantial way, creating peace not just at the surface, but by germinating a seedbed. Of course, I don't claim that you suspend all else and resort purely to the art for solutions, but I believe that the capability of arts to inspire and influence peace is drastically not understood and underutilized. The arts can truly be a magic wand in the process to achieve peace. Art has the special characteristic that makes it at the same time both inward and outward looking. Art is certainly a celebration of human individuality. I'm sure you'll agree with me. It is a powerful form of human expression. Within this, there coexist islands of artistic styles, impressions, and traditions, which are, on the face of it, quite varied and distinct. Yet, while artistic styles mostly emerge and evolve from large cultural diversity and variation among human communities, all arts share, at their core, a very important facet. Art is all about evoking a response from the viewer. This is the most beautiful word that has been coined, rasa. The idea of rasa is a much discussed concept in the art forms from the Indian tradition. We speak of conveying the rasa and we translate it as essence, for want of a better word, of something in order to evoke a mood or an emotion in the viewer. But what exactly does this mean? How and why does art evoke emotion? And what does it mean to capture the essence of something? The purpose of art is not to merely depict reality as it is. Surely, if that was all it was, it would not be special in any way, nor would it evoke any special response at all. We see it all around us. So what is special about seeing it on stage, seeing it on a screen? The method of art is to enhance reality, to amplify it, sometimes even distort, and by means of this, transcend reality. And this evokes a response which we call rasa. But is this rasa we all speak of so much just a poetic construct of the mind? What is this rasa at a neurological level? Famous neuroscientist V. Ramachandran places extremely interesting arguments in one of his pieces of research on art and the human brain, where he says, when an artist tries to capture the essence of reality by amplifying it, what he or she truly does is activate some neural mechanisms which are otherwise not activated by the original object itself. Can I show the first slide? For a simple example, we can take iconography from our own traditions. It is not unfamiliar to us that female representation usually involves exaggerated representation of certain features, like the hips and the breasts. The human brain is likely to equate a curvaceous form with the feminine and an angular form with the masculine. So the sculptor captures the essence of being feminine by moving his representation to the far end of the feminine spectrum, that is, making the features curvaceous and rotund in an exaggerated manner. You can take images from the Khajuraho temples. They denote highly stylized postures, some of them almost unrealistic. But it is the similar effect of picking out the essence and exaggeration that makes the sculptures truly evocative of what we call the Shringara or the love rasa in the arts. I'd like to show another slide, slide 6. Slide 6, I don't want, I can skip that. Skip it. 6. Skip it. Yeah. This is a painting by Picasso, Head of a Woman. Picasso's depiction of faces is another example. Ramachandran argues that the double face, even though unreal in a way, registers an alarming response in the brain and hence draws out a response of appreciation, wonder, surprise, draws out a rasa than what the depiction of a single face could have done. So one of the fundamentals that make communication through art special, that it reaches out on an emotional rather than an intellectual level sometimes. And it thereby becomes more successful in bringing home the poignance of what we are trying to communicate. This fundamental biological response to art accords it the unique power to move, to evoke the most humane and vulnerable side of people. As a stunning example from the world of dance and movement, I would now like to play for you an excerpt from a piece of work by Martha Graham, the pioneer of what we call contemporary or modern dance. This piece is called Lamentation. Audio on. Here, the dance itself is a lament. It is not the telling of a sorrowful story that evokes sorrow in you, but it is a lament through the movement of the body. Now, what is interesting is when we artists from India watch, when I watch this video clip, to me, it reminds me of so much of movements. It reminds me so much of real life scenes that I have seen. Because as a culture, as a race in India, we are very expressive with our body and also quite uninhibited with our emotions, even in public. So there are so many resonances for me when I see this. But this is a product of a different kind of a culture. It is a product of the Western culture where they are not in public or private, other than the arts, very, uninhibited with their emotions, or it is not on display usually. So when I see this, it is a response to that society too. That is, it is a kind of a cathartic. The arts have respond to a certain inhibition in the society, in the culture, and these kind of body movements, these kind of compositions have a cathartic effect on the audience. I would like to, I'd like to know from you what your response was when you saw. What is your immediate response to a clip like this, immediate response to something like this? Would you like to comment? Yes, it is depiction of a struggle. It is depiction of an inner agony, isn't it? It is lamentation. So I'd like to play the choreographer's interview, talking about the responses she got when after she choreographed this. So this is Martha Graham's
subject. It's the tragedy that obsesses a body, and the garment that is worn is just a tube of material, but it's as though you were stretching inside your own skin. One of the first times I did it was in Brooklyn. A lady came back to me afterwards and looked at me. She had a very white face, and she had obviously been crying. And she said, "You will never know what you have done for me tonight. Thank you," and left. I asked about her later. It seemed that she had seen her child, her 9-year-old son, killed in front of her by a truck. They had made every effort to make her cry, and she was not able to cry. But when she saw lamentation, she said she felt that grief was honorable and that it was universal, and that she need not be ashamed of crying for her son. And that, I remember that part, that story is a very deep story in my life. It's made me realize that there is always one person to whom you speak in the audience. One.
So it can have different kinds of effect on an audience, on a viewer, and sometimes it's a very personal connect that the audience has with what is happening on stage. Here, actually, I would like to talk about a personal experience that I had. Almost 6 years ago, when the Iraq war was at its peak, and America was sending so many of its young to war, and so many families were grieving for their lost ones. We had gone on a tour, and one of the pieces that we had selected was from the Purananuru. I'm sure a lot of you are probably aware. And Purananuru, it talks about war. And this particular verse was part of a trilogy. And this one that we chose talks about a woman. Now, her background is that the first day she sends her father to war, and he is killed, I think, by an elephant. She grieves for him. The second day, she sends her husband, and she loses her husband in war, and she grieves for him. The third day, she sends her son, and he is all that she has left. So we've taken the last one when she sends her son to war. We all know the Tamils were warrior people, and the mothers brought up their son with tales of courage and valor. And this mother too talks about heroism to her son as she dresses him up and prepares him for war. He's so young that she cannot even tie his hair together. And as she gives him a sword in his small hands, she's filled with grief. She's filled with anxiety. Yet, she still sends him to the sound of war drums. Then she hears that her son was killed in the war, but killed from behind, a sign that he had been running away from the battlefield. The mother is filled with shame, anger, agony that she could have reared a coward. She rushes to the battlefield with a sword in her hands, swearing, vowing that she will cut the breast that fed her son if he had died a coward. And there, in the battlefield, she sees her son lying wounded, dead, but killed from the front, a sign that he had died a warrior. The poet says, at that moment, the mother was happier than she was on the day she had given birth to him. This is the verse. When we presented it on stage, this is not a natural composition for the stage. It was not made for dance, as you all know. It's part of our literature. But it has a timelessness to it. It has so much of history to it, emotional, cultural, that what we did was, in the end, we added a lullaby where the mother then takes her little child and sings him a lullaby, mourns for him, sings him a lullaby as she sends him on his last journey. So this we performed in our tour, and in our programs, the organizers had invited families, American families, who had lost their sons, in war. after the performance, the kind of bond, the kind of connect that it created with these families, it was not a performance, it was an experience that we shared together. Because by performing it, they were reliving it through us. They were able to relive their grief and in a way cleanse their mind. It was a way of pouring their grief out and they were sharing it with us. Art has that kind of a quality where both the performer, both the artist and the viewer have a shared experience, have an intangible bond that is so precious and so deep that it creates an emotional connect. I would like to next talk about art as a medium which helps find inner peace. Art is an important tool or medium of self-expression. For any artist, the practice of an art form is first of all a great disciplining factor, acts as a huge stress buster. It's better than any aerobics or physical training class. It is calming. The physical release of aggression can be a good and a positive release, helps one reason with anger or rechannelize frustration. It teaches you so many things like respect. It teaches you, helps you empathize with different points of view. It helps you understand human emotions. It helps you negotiate. I will explain why. It can be a vent, a stabilizer, a channel to find reason and find solace, sometimes in the most painful and traumatic situations when all other human defenses become redundant or powerless. Why I said that it also helps you understand human emotions is the body of poetry that has been created by our poets is stunning, is staggering to say the least. In different languages, every possible emotion, nuance of emotion felt by man has been dealt with great detail, understanding, empathy, humor by our poets and reproduced in music, in song and dance. So as artists, when we work on these different compositions, I'd like to just talk about one or two compositions. I am sure a lot of you would have heard Jagadodharana. How many of you are familiar with the composition, Jagadodharana in Kannada? Yeah, by Purandaradasa. The music is very evocative and it has been made famous by one of the greatest legends of our time, Dr. M.S. Subbulakshmi. But it's not just the music. The philosophy behind that poetry is so simple yet staggering and leaves one overwhelmed. I'm always overwhelmed every time I perform the piece or watch the piece or listen to the piece. I'd like to talk about it to tell you why I find it overwhelming. Jagadodharana, the one who holds the entire world in his hands, that one, Yashoda thought, knowing that he was the one who held the entire world in his hands, to Yashoda, still he was her child. Knowing that he is the one who created you and created me. Yet, to Yashoda, this is my boy, she says. Knowing that he is the one who lies on Ananta. Yet, as she walks him, she tries to protect him from a little snake, knowing that he took the Trivikrama Avatara. She teaches him how to walk, knowing that he is the one who protected Draupadi. She dresses him up and laughs at him as he stands naked before her. That one, to Yashoda, is a mere child. The one who is in the smallest of atoms, the one who is the entire world itself, the one who has no cause or no effect. But to Yashoda, he is her child. The one who, even after the greatest penance, you cannot hold him in her hands, yet he was so easily available to the gopis. The one who is compassion personified. What does Yashoda do? She scolds him and asks him to open his mouth. I will beat you, she says. The one who is Purandara Vithala, that one, she teaches him how to play the flute. She sings and dances with him. To her, that Supreme One is a mere child, her child. The beauty of the poetry is the contradictions, the dichotomy that exist within the composition. The envy, the wonder, the surprise, the humility of the poet as he marvels at the relationship between Yashoda and Krishna, as he so beautifully talks about the most beautiful emotion, that which exists between the mother and the child. Whatever else that child may be, to the mother, he is her son. The simplicity, the wonder of it all never fails to overwhelm me when I see the piece. So these kind of responses, as an artist, when we perform them, when we explain it to the audience, when we reach out, there is an empathy that is created to the different vagaries of human emotion, of different situations. Your aesthetic level, your values, your understanding of human life, the impermanence of life, the vastness of this universe, and the fact that you are a mere speck in this cosmos. These are things that an artist realizes as you work on compositions, as you perform, and this, through our art, we try to reach out to the audience. Then one side is the very philosophical side of the compositions. Then you have another side which talks about love is a very important emotion that is expressed through dance. And different situations, a woman and a man, different ways in which they respond to each other is brought out beautifully. The different ways in which a woman deals with the many situations in her life is also brought out beautifully in compositions. So all these help you understand human emotions. I think to talk about that, that is a whole different side altogether. So I just I brought that example to tell you how, as artists, while we work, we learn to empathize, and therefore on stage we communicate this empathy to the audience. As an example, I would like to show you some images which we found on the internet of paintings drawn by children and teenagers, those children who have emerged from war-ridden regions, children who are forced to flee their countries for reasons beyond their control and now live as refugees amidst poverty and insecurity with their future on hold. These drawings are very different from what we would expect from normal 10-year-olds. What is reflected in these pictures is the trauma of persecution and flight, which the children perhaps scarcely understand the cause of. This is a drawing made of a scene witnessed by a child. This one, is it? Next one. I do this? Yeah. This drawing was sent to UNHCR by Chanakya Vihar, age 12, a schoolgirl from the former Yugoslavia. She used her crayons to describe the conditions under which she has been living. What you see is a home ridden by bullet holes, a scene outside the window, showing ensuing attacks, broken windows. UNICEF organized child murals which say, let's go to register for school. This is a beautiful one created by children at the Syrian refugees in Jordan, and it's particularly striking. I find it very poignant. It is difficult to say at immediate value where this child comes from, what he or she has seen. But it hits a deep chord of loneliness, and to think it was made by a child who has barely hit his or her teenage years. This is really heartbreaking. This inner search, this channel to draw out your innermost emotions, to turn you inside out, to rechannelize energy and anger, this inward upheaval is extremely important to find inner peace. It is this peace which brings stability to an individual, and only this can transform or translate into social world peace. Ability of art to mobilize the world for peace. In the conventional sense, art has an immense power to mobilize the world for peace. An example is the songs written in 1980s, We Are the World. How many of you have heard it? This song, penned by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, saw the coming together of almost every single iconic pop musician of that time as an appeal to the world on behalf of Africa. This song made a record $10.8 million in the 1980s for the cause We Are the World, has been recognized as a politically important song which affected an international focus on Africa that was simply unprecedented. It has been credited with creating a climate in which musicians from around the globe felt inclined to follow. Harry Belafonte commented during the song's 20th anniversary that the song had stood the test of time. Anyone old enough to remember it can still at least hum along. I'd like to now play for you the 25th anniversary version of this song, when a whole new generation of artists came together to re-record this song in the same spirit, yet for a new cause of the Haiti earthquake in 2010. Video clip.
There comes a time when we hit a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying.
Oh, when it's time to lend a hand. to life, the greatest gift of all.
We can't go on pretending day by day
that someone somehow will soon make a change.
We are all a part of God's great big family, and it's true, you know, love is all we need. We are the ones, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, oh, so they know that someone cares.
So their cries for help will not be in vain.
We can't let them suffer, no, we cannot turn away.
Right now, they need a helping hand.
no someone love. We are the children.
We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
Oh, there's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives.
It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
When you're down and out, and there seems no hope at all.
But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall.
Well, let us realize, oh, that change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the world. We are the world. We are the children. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
Gotta start giving.
That is true, we make a better day, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children.
We are the ones who make a better day.
So let's start giving.
There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. We are the world.
We are the children. Let's start giving.
There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me.
Come on now, let me hear you.
We are the world. We are the children. Start giving.
We all need somebody that we can lean on. When you wake up, look around and see that your dream's gone. When the earthquakes will help you make it through the storm. When the floor breaks, a magic carpet to stand on. We are the world united by love so strong. When the radio isn't on, you can hear the songs. A guiding light on the dark road you're walking on. A signpost to find the dreams you thought was gone. Someone to help you move the obstacles you stumbled on. Someone to help you rebuild after the rumble's gone. We are the world connected by a common bond. Love, the whole planet singing along. God, my love!
Such efforts do not necessarily die down with an artist or a generation, but have an everlasting effect that go far beyond the time of its creation and outlive its creators or initiators. Art as an equalizer. It is able to laugh in the face of all discrimination. Art has the ability to break and transcend cultural barriers. Music, painting, movement, and dance are languages that go beyond the precincts of culture and its connotations. Kalakshetra is an example. We have students from everywhere in the world. And Kalakshetra is a place that there is no caste, no language, no cultural, no geographical barriers. We have students who come not only from different countries, but different stratas of society. There are students who come from privileged homes. There are students who come who probably don't have 1 square meal a day. Kalakshetra embraces them all. And in Kalakshetra, they learn a way of life through art. For me, the last 6 months since I entered Kalakshetra has been the most moving and humbling experiences in my life. As an artist who has traveled, who has performed, there was, I think, a hidden arrogance, probably not intentional. And when I entered Kalakshetra, to give you a brief about, I'm sure a lot of you don't know that in Bharatanatyam, which I practice, you have different styles of teaching, learning, dancing. And I learned from a traditional guru. While I continued my education, this was like a hobby. It became a passion and then a way of life. And then my life, it became my career, my profession, my life, my 24. I mean, art is difficult to encapsulate it and say, I am a professional dancer. It does not quite adequately explain what we do. In all arrogance, I can say that. The thing is, when Kalakshetra is diametrically opposite to what I have studied or what I learned from my guru. When I entered Kalakshetra, I entered it with all respect. I entered it probably somewhere unconsciously understanding that this was something unique. But from day one, the kind of vision the founder had was way beyond her times and is relevant today, will be relevant tomorrow. For her, art, life is not just, Kalakshetra is not about music, dance or the visual arts, not about crafts, not about only about all this. It's about beauty. Life, beauty, art, all of them were interchangeable words in her vocabulary. She lived with beauty around her, dreaming beauty, and Kalakshetra is the product of that dream. It is every artist's aspiration, every artist's aspirational environment where one is free to create and in the most beautiful of surroundings, that in harmony and as a community. And Kalakshetra today that embraces students irrespective of caste, religion, economic background, language, stands testimony to the peace and harmony that she advocated through her vision. Art is an equalizer, emancipator, something that helps you find yourself. Calming, healing. Art ultimately is a channel for inspiration, to dream, to imagine, to live bigger and beyond your circumstances. Emancipation, and hence brings inner peace. And this facet of art makes an individual feel worthy. It makes you feel equal among others. That feeling of self-worth is the fundamental driving force to create a conflict-free existence. In a world that is becoming increasingly global today, where migrant communities are becoming predominant, where communities are being shifted out of their comfort zones in search of better prospects, better lives, and sometimes simply in search of peace, real and true cultural integration is facilitated through the arts, allowing people to truly belong. I would like to show you a clip that was made, I think, almost 25 years ago by one of the greatest living legends of our times, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, who is a familiar figure in SASTRA University. She created a composition that was set to Tchaikovsky's music, Jatayu Moksham. To date, it is one of the most brilliant choreographies that I have ever seen. It almost seems that he wrote for her. That is a comment that one hears often. It's a very poor quality video. I just want to, if any of you has a chance, please see the original version, but I would just like to play the fourth video clip.
Potentiality of the technique that Natya Shastra offers for creativity. Here is a part of Jatayu Moksham, which I have choreographed for Russian Symphony. It's the world-renowned Tchaikovsky's overture for Romeo and Juliet.
I'd like to show the last video clip. Dr. M.S. Subbulakshmi performing at the UN in 1966. I'm sure all of you know the song that she...
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to some extraordinarily good music today, though it may have sounded exotic to some of you. The fact that this concert is so well attended shows at the same time how receptive we are at the United Nations to new experiences. The enthusiastic reception accorded to Srimati Subbulakshmi and her associates proves, if proof were needed, that music knows no geographical boundaries. It speaks a universal language which has an appeal to all of us. I must take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Government of India, whose generosity has made it possible for us to have this musical feast this afternoon. I hope that Srimati Subbulakshmi and her group will have a successful visit and a pleasant stay in this country. Thank you very much.
अखिल जेत्री मैत्री भजत अखिल जेत्री मैत्री भजत अखिल जेत्री आत्मवदेव परानति पश्यत आत्मवदेव परानति पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेश्वरक्रममाक्रमणम् त्यजत परेश्वरक्रममाक्रमणम् मैत्रीं भजत अखिल जेत्री मैत्रीं भजत अखिल जेत्री जननी पृथिवी कामदुघाते जननी पृथिवी कामदुघाते जनको देवः सकल दयालु जनको देवः सकल दयालु राम्यत दलद्वं जनता राम्यत दलद्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकल
Arts possess no political boundaries. When a piece of art speaks, it speaks for all mankind or doesn't speak at all. There is a large potential of art that is waiting to be released. It is the duty of artists to realize this potential and the duty of the community to be aware of the place of arts in human society, not to relegate art to the mere fringes of entertainment, which is only a part, a very minor part of the evolutionary purpose of art. As Zubin Mehta said in Kashmir recently, as artists, we cannot change boundaries, but we can start a process of healing. And I think artists can initiate the twofold process of inward individual healing and thereby healing the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. The topic, as I said, is a difficult topic because it involves a byproduct called peace through art. And you know how difficult it is to ensure peace. It is a hard task, but made so simple with a very soft voice. Thank you very much for the excellent rendition with some lively videos and some good snapshots. Now we will open the floor for a few questions. If there are any questions, yeah. Just quickly. Yeah, please stand up so that you know. There.
Thank you, ma'am, for your nice lecture. When you were expounding initially on the concept of rasa in art, you used two phrases which captivated me. One is that art is not just to depict reality, but to even distort it. And by doing so, the artist transcends the reality. So while this lecture was concentrated on art for peace, What is your specific comment about the art of M.F. Hussain, which has produced violence? And has he transcended reality?
The thing is, the idea of art also is to make you think. When a viewer is faced with a kind of violent images, right? There is a response within you. In a way, the artist dares you to think. That is the way I look at it. He dares you to think. It is like a slap to show you this is what violence is about. It can create revulsion, right? It can bring out baser emotions. The thing is, when as an artist, he holds a mirror and reflects reality, but probably in a more exaggerated way. You know, it's not a realistic, in the sense, nothing can actually be an exact copy of what happens in life, isn't it? When you reproduce it in art, there is something of the artist's perception that comes in. There is an exaggeration that comes in because of the viewpoint he or she takes. So I think the artist holds a mirror to reflects the violence and evokes a response within you. Whether your question is whether it transcends reality. It has created violence in our country. I think it is a very sad, it defeats the purpose of art, in my opinion, because when it is reduced to religion, when art becomes when it is reduced to religious barriers and you are not able to accept the freedom of an individual, the identity of an individual, I think it defeats the purpose of humanity itself.
Which country actually offered him a visa? No. Which country offered him a visa after this incident?
I think it was the Middle East.
A very, very insignificant, theocratically based country offered him a visa. The US did not offer, UK did not offer him a visa.
Exactly.
That explains how even developed countries dismisses that art.
Exactly.
So you dismiss his art?
I don't dismiss his art. I'm saying it defeats the purpose of art.
1 minute. We will toggle between a masculine question and a feminine question.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a wonderful, emotional, cosmic appeal in your musical tones. I have a reference to the Sayujya type of innovative experimentation. You have been involved with T.M. Krishna the past few days. And that exactly is a portrayal of augmentation or enhancing the art, because it is a very live appeal to perform for a live music. It's a live appeal to perform for a live music.
I didn't understand. It's a appeal.
He performs instantly to his own imagination, for which we have seen that very beautiful, wonderful choreography, where you try to portray the message of love between different sets of people. The one you showed that between a mother and a son. So, do you think a piece through art in this way could be transferred through different emotions at the level of students, and then this be achieved very well through such innovative experimentation?
See, the thing is, Sayujya was not a conscious effort to create peace. It was a spontaneous collaboration. to discover the beauty of another art form through a practitioner of that style. So, but what I think art does, and what I was trying to express through today's lecture, was it it creates a certain aesthetics in people, right? Being exposed to art forms, to being exposed to the beauty within art forms, being exposed to even violence, like, I'm talking about the expressions of violence in art forms, makes you think, makes you realize, makes you empathize. It creates a community, it creates a generation with aesthetics and values. So I think when that is done, peace is only an extension of that. There is nothing called peace separately. Peace is something that we create. It doesn't exist by itself. It is something that is inherent in us, which we have to realize. And I think art helps you realize that. Yeah.
As art, what I understand is that it gives more of divineness than peace. Mainly because when you say peace, there should be a conflict. So now when you listen to any artistic form, you are taken to a different world altogether, where we are not living in this world. So my feeling is that we go more towards the divineness, and that divineness introduces peace within ourselves.
Absolutely. Why do we go to temples? To find peace, isn't it? And there is divinity in temples. The art carries you, it transcends human life. It takes you to a plane where there is a sense of unexplained joy. Yes.
Yeah, one question here.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for your wonderful speech. Ma'am, art has so much to give to us, but the first thing is art is not being appreciated in the right way. And people don't appreciate Western art in the right way. They see it in the negative sense. That's the first thing. The second thing is people are not giving so much importance to art. It is slowly dying. So what is your take on it, ma'am? Do you think this is going to continue? And if yes, what are we supposed to do to not let art die away?
I don't think art is dying. I would not accept that, because art will always, it will always be a part of society. It is a spontaneous expression of the human, it is a spontaneous urge of the civilization. It will always be there as long as there is civilization. But what I definitely, all have concerns about is how much does our government support art? I think that is something very important, because the state of art, the state of the woman in a society, in a way reflects the health of a society. And the kind of support our powers that be give art, the kind of financial support or patronage is definitely not enough, and is definitely not inspired, or doesn't have any well thought out plan. For instance, in certain very, in societies like Norway and Sweden, what happened, Finland, is they have these movements where the musicians and artistic community have sessions with children, freewheeling sessions where the children, the parents bring their children to these artistic centers, and big artists, all kinds of artists of different stature interact with the children. It could only be teaching a child how to play a note, something as simple as that. It could be playing with a child. It could be a conversation with a toddler. But the children are exposed to the arts right from the young age. It is something they grow up with. It is not something they see when they are 20. So what happens is the aesthetic sense of the child is nurtured right from that age. And by the time they come to their teens, I think the receptiveness of the child is nicely prepared. So, and that helps society. So it is a very well thought out plan that is done by that society to nurture the children, the artistic, the imagination, the creative imagination of children right from the young age. And I think that is what we need in our country. Arts have to be made a part of the curriculum right from the young age, not one dance class, one music class per month. There is no plan. You know, you just include it in your syllabus. It has to be a well thought out plan to build a society. It cannot be a random move on the part of the government. I feel that we definitely need that patronage and support.
Penultimate question, yeah.
Very good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, you spoke about art in all its glory and you said it's not dying. But as a Rasika, when I go to a Carnatic Kacheri during the December season, I find the majority of the people there are senior citizens. And the few youngsters, maybe a handful of them, all of them are under the, like as you said, they are being taught music or they are aspiring musicians themselves. They are going to be an active part of the system maybe a few years down the line. But what is lacking is a passive involvement from the youngsters of today. They don't want to listen. They want to be a part of it. They are the active members. But passive involvement is lacking. Don't you think this is a major cause of
that's what I said, that definitely if children are exposed to the classical arts and different kinds of arts from the young age, they are ready to receive it in their teens. You know, that is very important. But you know, you talk about how when you go to a Carnatic music kacheri, you find only senior citizens. I don't deny that. And in fact, it is much more in the case of dance. But there is also a very interesting trend which you have not mentioned, that there are so many youngsters, especially from America, who take this as a career. That is also happening. So why should we look and say art is dying? There are only senior citizens. There is also a trend that is very hopeful. And let's face it, art will outlive all of us. And it is not dying. It is not, like somebody was asking me, I think a young student, you think interest in art is dying. The same question that was asked today. See, the thing is, today there is so much information, there's an explosion of information. We know what is happening in the remotest corner of the world because of internet and because of all the social networking. So therefore, we are able to, go right into the homes of people, isn't it? But in those days, like for instance, just taking an example that somewhere 100 kilometers from Chennai, people don't, Chennai is a city of culture, but 100 kilometers from Chennai, you still don't see, you don't see the arts. We never saw the arts there, right? It is not as if it is happening today. Even 25 years earlier, probably that area was not artistically, the art was not present for various reasons. Today, there are probably 2 people who know it. That is 2 more from 25 years ago. But the fact that 25 years ago there was no art there, nobody knew, because we did not have this kind of facility or this kind of intrusion into another person's life like we have today, right? So that awareness, that information that was not there yesterday is available today, and then that makes us say that art is dying. It's not true. Today you find that from my time, from 20 years ago till to today, there is a almost 40% increase in the number of students who have taken up art as a career. And when I'm surprised that statistic is not known. Artists like me know that. But the fact, another very common question that I get is, classical arts, are they still relevant today? You know, isn't Bollywood much more popular? Of course Bollywood is popular. Cinema was popular right from its inception. That's something that we cannot deny. And the classical arts in those days were seen in films, but that the same music and dance has changed to become Bollywood, but it is still Indian. It is still Indian. It's adapted from. It is born out of this culture. Of course, it is influenced by so many the other imports, but it is still born out of this culture. The thing is, classical arts will always have a niche audience, and that is a given. That is a fact that we have to accept as artists. I am not competing with Bollywood. There is no reason for a classical artist to compete with Bollywood or Collywood or anything. The thing is, we all coexist, and each one serves a different purpose. But what I feel the purpose of art is, you definitely need to nurture the aesthetics of a generation. And if our Bollywood doesn't do that, that is what I have a problem with, not that I have a problem with Bollywood itself. Okay.
Shall I ask the last question?
Yes, please.
I said during my welcome address, you see, I am not a direct contributor because I don't know, and also not a direct consumer because I don't fully understand. But I've always supported different forms of art. And I see art as an artist's advertisement, or the way in which he or she portrays. Now, I feel that there is a growing, he said, for peace there needs to be a conflict. Now, do I see as a source of conflict that, there is a large level of conflict amongst artists themselves, which could be potentially dangerous to the art per se? Do you think there is a conflict amongst artists? If so, how do we address that?
To take that conflict, definitely there is conflict. I'm talking about a different kind of conflict. The conflict in human life, the conflict in human emotions, the pressures that one feels is also from that, an escape from that. Art helps you find the divinity or the transcendence. Okay, to go to conflict. Artists, because at another level, are very human, isn't it? The art they practice is divine, but the artists themselves are very human. And the constant inward and outward looking of the artist exposes them and lays bare, and laying bare, when you're on stage, you cannot lie. You're constantly bearing your emotion and your inner personality on stage. It is a huge. It's not just cathartic, but it is also in a way it's a very courageous move on stage. See, the thing is, the life of an artist is not easy because there is no recognition of art as a career. A lot of times when I was in my growing years, in my early years as an artist, when people asked me what I did, I would say I'm a dancer. Okay, what else do you do? It was not enough to be a dancer. Nobody recognizes that as a career option. And in a way, that's also our culture, isn't it? Art is not commercial, so how can you have a career, art as a career? Okay. Now, therefore, when it is not a recognized career option, where do I stand in this community as an artist? if I am a person of, an artist of repute, then there is a certain recognition. But otherwise, if I am one among 500 artists, what is my standing in society? I don't make money. I don't have recognition as a professional. My government does not support me. Art is a niche. Art is a niche market, to use the local parlance. So there is a lot of insecurity that goes with in the makeup of the artist. So what happens is, we have a small audience that we are appealing to, and art also is a very elusive mistress. The closer you think you're going to her, the further she slips away from you. So artistically, to practice as an artist is tough. You know, the sadhana that you do, you have to have inherent talent. Otherwise, mediocrity is the rule of the game. So one is, unless you are inherently talented, you cannot, you can be an average in any other profession. You can be average and still make a decent amount of money. But it's not the same in art, isn't it? So mediocrity is one trait that cripples you. The other is no financial stability. The other is no recognition. So there is a lot of insecurity, and there is a very little, the cake is, there's a very little market for artists. So what happens is, this insecurity leads to differences, it leads to conflict. But having said that, that exists only within the, between artist to artist. But when is translated on stage, that is the art that is sublimated, not the insecurity of the artist. So what happens is, whatever human failings you may have off stage, anybody who is an artist, when they stand on stage and perform, you transcend that human failing. So no conflict has no context on stage.
Thank you very much for the wonderful discourse. I request our Registrar, Professor Balchandran, to please hand over a memento as a token of our appreciation and gratitude for the effort you have taken to be amidst us this evening.
Madam, thank you very much for your brilliant lecture and for your answers to this audience also. Before coming over to this program, we were discussing in our Dean's chamber. We have different open elective courses. You can also think of introducing a course on traditional Indian arts, can be an open elective course wherein we can appreciate, only when we understand a thing we can appreciate. Probably by offering this to our students, we'll be able to promote the art and the understanding about the Indian art also. May now request our Honorable Registrar to deliver the vote of thanks.
Our grateful pranams at the lotus feet of Lord Almighty for having showered on us His choicest divine love, grace and blessings on all of us for the successful conduct of Daksh PowerTalks program. We are thankful to Professor SVS for having shown special interest in bringing specialists from different areas and made this program very successful. Our special thanks are due to Srimati Priyadarsini Govind, Director, Kalakshetra Foundation, for having given us a wonderful talk. Actually, she spoke from the bottom of the heart. Art and peace have the birthplace in the heart. See, art is the reflection of the inner peace that you have. Be very clear about it. One's own perfection is reflected in the form of art. Purnam. When you say peace, simple sentence, I want peace. I refers to ego. Want refers to desire. If I and want would go out, peace will remain automatically. Peace is not coming from anywhere. So, peace and art are the divine manifestations from within. This is what each one of us should have to understand. Normally, any person who aspires for peace or a true artist would never go after money or name or fame. The moment we have given ourselves to money, art would go away from us, peace will never remain with us. The so-called, for example, artists or so-called peace that we try to achieve, it is only outwardly. But a true artist will never do anything for money. Tyagaraja never sang for money. Poetry and songs came out of him naturally. He is an artist to the core. All the time he embraced poverty, but poverty was not with him, but peace was ever living with him. A simple thing. In India, where art, it was used as a means for God realization, was later given to money, name and fame. That is the reason why, as many students they were asking questions here, both art and peace were in doldrums. Kalakshetra is one institution which was strongly founded, with whom my family is associated over 60 years. We know the value of Kalakshetra. And this is one institution which has been tirelessly working for the promotion of peace through art. Our special congratulations to that great institution, and many students of SASTRA, they also have association with Kalakshetra. I thank all the members of Daksh who have worked untiringly for the success of this program. My special thanks are due to many sponsors who have also made this program very successful. I am grateful to my colleagues, I am grateful to my students who have participated in these programs with full faith that they would derive the benefit. I believe that we could do our best. Thank you and hope for the best for tomorrow's program too. Thank you.
So thank you for thanking all of us. Let's all go for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाये तव जय गाथा
जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Jai Hind.